Against Andrew, I'm 11-51 and 2.
Wow. On YouTube.
He's good. Sometimes I feel like
I think I'm 0-2 with you. I believe.
Yeah, but that record's so small, it doesn't really mean much. But in both of those games, I was behind. Like
at one point,
when you look at the report, the last one it was back and forth a couple times. I think.
I just when I just get in a hurry, or I feel like I've been waiting too long to play, and it's just. I'll be doing something else and be like, I just got to play real quick. Like exactly what you just did with, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to go.
Yeah, this seems like the right thing.
And then I lose. Just lose.
Slews.
Today, I am here to give you the assurance that I have not forgotten you.
If we want to see the new evangelization become more than just jargon, if we want to see it grow legs and gain traction and change the world, we have got to take seriously our responsibilities as husbands and fathers, and especially as sons of God.
I want to propose to you then that something that our world is desperately in need of in the midst of this crisis is Catholic Christian masculinity.
If you want to be a good father, then bring your children to confession with you.
I can't get there unless I become a man of ascesis, a man of asceticism, a man of training.
A man not doing penance, a man not disciplined is not a man.
You guys have upped your game.
You know what, guys? I gotta say, I love the concept of Man Show.
Warning: the Catholic Man Show is about to begin.
Welcome to the Catholic Man Show. We're on the Lord's team, the winning side. So raise your glass. Adam Minahan here, sitting with David Niles, Juan Posada, the producer this evening.
And many evenings.
Normally when he's not here, it's kind of a wreck.
Yeah. So
we're glad he's here. We're glad you're here. Welcome to the show. This is going to be an exciting episode because, for many reasons. One, somebody sent us a drink.
We have one I've never heard of. I'm really excited about, actually.
I am as well. Chase Mascaro. Sorry, Chase.
Sounds like a
mispronouncing it.
Sounds like a particular grape of wine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Moscato.
Yeah.
Mascaro.
So Mascaro in Spanish is more expensive.
Ooh, what a sweet name.
Chase, more expensive.
Mascaro. Mascaro means more expensive.
He sent us a whiskey for us to try. I want to also compliment. So he sent us also a letter, but he gave a shout out to the owner of the distillery, Aaron Chepnick,
which is we're gonna be smoking. We're gonna be drinking Smoke Wagon.
Yes,
is the name of the whiskey. It's a small batch bourbon. H&C Distilling from Nevada. H&C Distilling.
But Aaron, he said, the owner is a very generous man. He donates a lot of rare bottles for fundraisers regularly, so he likes to support Aaron and the distillery. So shout out to Aaron as well for your generosity.
Right on, man.
And also for Chase for sending this to us. First of all, I just got to say, I love the bottle. I'm a big fan, as people know. I'm a big fan of.
Bring it. There we go.
Presentation when it comes to whiskey bottle.
It's a nice bottle.
It's one of my favorites. It's just one of my favorites. It just looks classy, and I really like it. What
crossed pistols here in this wax seal on the front, like old fashioned.
It's like embedded into the bottle.
Old fashioned 6-shooters. Mm-hmm. It's got Latin on it. Bibamus moriendum est, which we looked up. We all guessed at it because we're studying Latin.
Right.
We were pretty close. We knew that it was like we drink, and then we said
something about death.
Yeah, like moriendum, like mortus would be
Right.
death.
Memento
Moriendum,
mori, like-
yeah, like it was like, but that would be weird about like what it was like drinking to death or something. We looked it up, but it was let us drink, for we must die. We're all gonna die, so let's have a drink.
Basically.
I dig it.
So let's try it. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Also, Smoke Wagon, like the scene from Tombstone, which is I love.
Well,
that,
you know, it makes me wonder if they're overtly referencing Tombstone with like the, you know,
it
the
is
Colt.
strong on the nose.
You know, they look like the old-fashioned Colt 45
Mhm.
pistols. You know, on the front. It's called Smoke Wagon. They've got, you know, in Tombstone, Doc Holliday and the bad guy, they like speak Latin to each other several times, and so
Oh yeah, I think he actually says that in the show.
you know, he might actually say Bibamus Moriendum Est on Tombstone. So
Yeah.
we should look that up.
But it is one of those great westerns. However, I tried to watch it a long time, or not a long time ago, a few months ago, and I forgot about all the Lord's Name in Vain that they take. And
Gotta
so,
get yourself a VidAngel account, man.
I guess so.
Yeah.
We're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass. Cheers.
Cheers to Jesus.
Cheers to you, Chase. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you should officially toast Chase.
Chase, may the Lord shower you with blessings. May He give you a long life, and may you drink with the saints someday. The proverbial drinking.
To your fecundity, Chase.
You just have to add that.
Yeah, it's like awesome to do.
You have to do it.
Yeah.
So the nose is extremely strong. I mean, it is strong to me.
He was right. He said he knew we would love it, and I do.
It's a balanced oak nose with hints of fruit and dried apricots. So it's a the taste says initial sweet notes on the front of the tongue, well balanced mouth with feel with spicy notes, including white pepper in the middle and back of the tongue from the younger vintage and high rye mash bill. It's a good balance of sweet and oak flavors, including hints of caramel, fruit, and rye. Finishes smooth with no alcohol burn, even at 100 proof.
Yeah, it's 100 proof. That is delicious.
It's also a 2016, 17, and 19 San Francisco World Spirits Competition gold medal winner. So
that's awesome. Thank you, Chase.
Thank you, Chase. So,
I don't know if you can get this in Oklahoma. I haven't seen it.
I have not seen it either. Have you?
And I have perused the shelves a lot. I feel like you have too. I think between the three of us here in this room, if it was sold in Oklahoma,
wow, that is really nice.
We would recognize
is
it
a really
because it's a standout bottle. They come in a box.
I don't know. I did not receive it in a box.
You didn't receive it in a box.
Yeah, that is nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely smoky. Is it a younger whiskey? Is that what?
It's a blend.
Did
So
it say that?
it's rye and one of their older ones.
Okay, yeah. So the rye, I like how it's got a little bit of the rye. I don't know. This is just a great balanced. It's got flavor. It's all over. It's kind of got flavors all over the place, which I like. I like that.
Yeah.
People would say it's complex.
Yes.
But I feel like that's what you say about something when you don't really know what to say about it. You know,
if you don't follow it up with some answers,
like it's complex because
right.
You know, that's what people like. Oh, that's smooth.
Right.
You know, well, yeah, of course, because it's a good whiskey and whiskey's supposed to be smooth.
We are like 4 weeks away from the Catholic Man Show camp out.
Totally psyched.
Man, it is going to be so much fun. Again, we're still on a waiting list. If you want to come, so you can join the waiting list if you just Google Catholic Man Show camp out. You can be added to the waiting list. If you are signed up and you won't be able to go, please let us know because there are other people.
Please do. So if you want to go to the camp out next year, because it's looking like, you know, this is about as big as we can make the camp out. We've really,
without losing some of the,
well, and just logistically, like making making food for everybody 3 times a day is just it's not going to get any bigger. So like next year, it's probably the same kind of situation. If you want to come, it's basically between our patrons, it's just going to get filled up. That's just one great reason to join our Patreon. We also send you a
we haven't said that in a long time.
Glencairn glass as a
these
thank
whiskey
you
glasses
gift.
that we're drinking out of right
If
now.
you want one, just become a patron.
Dave, what's on the whiskey glasses?
Well, we have our logo. It says The Catholic Man Show. It's got axes crossing each other with JMJ.
How do they put the logo on there?
Oh, they're laser etched with lasers.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's what I was going for
Totally.
the whole time.
With lasers,
Right.
man.
Yeah.
When they do the laser etching, they use lasers.
Yeah.
Dishwasher safe are these glasses. So we always give our patrons, first of all, to come to the camp out, it's free if you're a patron. At a certain, you have to like be a certain level. No, any patron level. Okay. All patrons get to come for free. Just because it's awesome to be a Patreon member. So go to patreon.com/The Catholic Man Show. Sign up. There's a lot of information there. We have a great community. We're getting our fantasy football league started.
Yeah.
If you're a patron, I put a poll out there. I'm waiting for more people to respond because we want to start a second fantasy football league that's going to go next to the other one. They're going to compete side by side, but we have 20 teams in the first one. We have to have 20 teams in the other one. Otherwise it won't be apples to apples,
Okay.
Because if you have 10 people in one league, they get to pick
a lot better players
from the all-stars.
Right.
You're going to have more and so
Sure.
it's just not fair to have those two
Competing.
leagues go up against each other. So
That makes sense.
Go to the poll. If you want to play fantasy football this year, go to the Patreon page and respond to the poll, and then we'll get it going. It's going to be awesome.
Also doing a book club right now with
Yes.
Father Gary Lagrange's book, Thomistic Common Sense. It's really going well. I'm really enjoying it and grateful for the other guys who are in it with us, because just like anything else, when you're reading something that is complex, when you're reading something that's pushing you intellectually, to be able to like dissect what's going on with other guys and what did you pull from this? Oh wow, I didn't even think about that.
And the nature of the way you're doing it, it's not like, oh, I missed it, maybe I'll do the next one. You can start right now and just join in on the chapters that you're working through
right now.
Yeah.
So anyway, when we get back, we're going to get into the gear and then into the topic. We'll be right back.
Are you actually going to send the trophy out this year?
Totally.
Or are you going to
No.
just
We're
up
not?
to it?
No, we haven't once.
Well, that's because you won.
No, Brad's won before as well. Like, I haven't sent it out. You just get your name on the plaque.
I thought we were going to send it.
Because if we send it out,
Probably
then
won't get it back.
you don't get it back.
I know. And it
So
would
you
cost a lot of money to
yeah,
send.
to send it back, to send it there and then send it back. So you just get your name etched forever on the trophy.
He's a back-to-back champion.
Yes.
If he wins this year,
he can't play.
No, I mean like.
Who's this?
Brad Kendricks.
Yeah.
So.
I checked. I have the highest fantasy rating.
Nice.
Of everybody.
But you just
in
can't.
the league.
You just can't win it.
No. Well, I've done okay. I think I got third one time.
No one remembers the bronze.
No, nobody remembers second place. I mean, who cares? But it's a respectable finish.
Sure.
I'm on the podium. Nobody remembers, except for me. Welcome back. If you're wondering what you're listening to, this is The Catholic Man Show with Adam Minahan and David Niles. If you're new to listening to The Catholic Man Show, we do 3 things on every episode. We just have done one. We've opened, reviewed, and enjoyed a manly beverage. We're going to continue enjoying this delightfully manly beverage. It's Smoke Wagon by Nevada H&C Distilling Company. Now we're going to be moving on to the man gear. We highlight manly things, talk about what makes them awesome. And then we have a topic, which we're going to be getting to in the next segment.
We may get into it this segment.
We may. Who knows? We don't know.
Hey, before we get into it, though, did you get your van back?
No. Well, yes, the van is back, but it's being towed back to
I saw the.
We still have my parents' Suburban.
Yeah.
So I rented a car on Friday.
Because we told the story already.
Right. I drove to go get the van in Wichita.
Right.
And brought it back. Seemed to be working just fine. But then as I was I was about 2 miles away, all of a sudden the coolant temperature light went off, came on again.
Mm.
And so it's like, dang it. I get home, open the hood, the coolant reservoir is just completely empty. So, it's like, how much fluid, how much coolant is it missing? I don't know.
Right.
And coolant is expensive. It's like $30 a gallon. There's 6 gallons in the radiator. Am I gonna have to buy 4? I don't know. So I wanted to call the insurance, be like, hey, before I just go buy, and if it's leaking, how many am I gonna have to put in before a body shop here in Tulsa can see me? Like, am I gonna get before I just drop $150 on coolant? I want to know that you guys are gonna send me a check for it.
Yeah.
Honestly,
yeah.
this is supposed to be fixed. It's not my problem.
Right.
So
I paid the deductible.
Right. Exactly. And so they no, like, oh, you know what? Don't drive it. We're going to tow it from your house. And it's like, look, it's probably fine to drive, but the insurance company doesn't want to pay for a new engine.
Right.
So, and also when I idle, there is a tremor.
Roughness.
There's a tremor.
Mm.
And also they didn't check the alignment. Like, it's difficult when it's getting repaired in Wichita and I live in Tulsa,
Right.
It's just harder to communicate. And so
Bummer.
that's where we're at the van. We have the van, but it's not fixed yet.
Dang.
The saga continues.
Okay.
Okay. So the man gear today is a staple gun. This is my staple gun, which you're looking at right here if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, or if you're watching us. This is an Arrow T50. Okay. This is
Blackhawk 5000.
This is probably the most popular staple gun ever sold.
Okay.
There's a lot of staple guns, a lot of good staple guns out there. This is the one I have. I really love it. This is a manual staple gun. Personally, I think that there's just no reason to have a pneumatic staple gun unless you're a professional of some kind. Like, I don't know, like, in construction they use pneumatic staple guns, or like in if you're in upholstery, that kind of thing. But for the most part, this manual staple gun is going to do everything that you need, everything that you need it to do. This T50, I really like because it shoots a wide assortment of staples.
Okay. Different sizes,
different widths, and different lengths of staples. And so it can handle, I think it's like 5 different sizes of staple, which I do use. Like, I try not to use a staple gun when I hang Christmas lights.
Okay, that was going to be what I was going to talk about.
Yeah. For a couple reasons, like I don't like
damages the house.
I don't like putting holes, a whole bunch of holes every year, but
right.
And I've gotten it down to where I don't do as much as I used to with staple gun, but inevitably
I was pretty liberal with the staples
in the beginning.
Back in the beginning,
yeah,
and then I realized.
Obviously, when you're doing that, the Christmas lights are not plugged in.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, this is good distinction.
Okay.
Sure. Don't do that.
You can use a staple gun to hang Christmas lights. You cannot do it if the Christmas lights are plugged in.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So I may have told this story a long time ago on this show, but it's worth repeating because it's just the awesomeness of my dad. When I think of staple guns,
this is the story.
This is the story.
What comes to mind.
This is what comes to mind. So
okay.
My dad's up there. He's stapling all these Christmas lights. My dad was a guy growing up. He was one that we're going to hang Christmas lights. It doesn't matter if it is sunny outside or it is 30 below zero.
Right.
If it is time to hang Christmas lights, we're hanging Christmas lights.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
it's the weekend after Thanksgiving.
Right. And so
we're putting up Christmas
We're putting
lights.
up Christmas lights. It doesn't matter if like snot is frozen on my face, you know, and I have to wear gloves.
Sure.
And like we're putting up Christmas. So we're up there. We're putting up Christmas lights. I'm just probably 7th grade, 8th grade, where I'm like really starting to help a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and he's up there at the very peak.
Becoming capable of things. Yeah.
Right. He's up at the peak of the house right now. You know, putting up the Christmas lights.
Yeah.
And he's
I hate doing that.
I know it makes you. So he's
I
like,
just hate
Adam, hold the. You know, my dad's a big man.
He's a large man.
He is a big man. 6'4". You know, he's a big man. He says, Adam, hold the Christmas light. Hold the ladder. I'm gonna climb up there. I'm gonna get these Christmas lights up to the peak. And he's an engineer by trade, so he is very meticulous about making them straight and perfect and right angles and everything. So he's up there and he's doing it. And so I'm just kind of on the bottom, like when you're holding a ladder, if you're not thinking about like how important the job is, it's just kind of a menial task, right? Until you're not holding the ladder, and then that's not a good thing, right?
What are you supposed to do when you hold the ladder?
Just make sure it doesn't fly out.
How are you supposed to do that?
Just hold it. So I'm holding it. And then for whatever reason I thought, you know how I could hold it is if I step onto the first step, ground it down, even though we're on cement. It's like this is a bad thought process. I'm not proud about this, but for whatever reason I thought if I'm on the ladder, I'm holding, like I'm putting more weight down, so I'm like keeping it from sliding.
Right.
I step on it, it instantly flies out. My dad is at the peak of our house, 2-story house.
So he must have had it at a pretty good angle.
Like, no, because it was a tall point, so he couldn't have it at a.
Yeah, it just seems like it wouldn't have slid if it was.
So it slid out. My dad falls from the very top of the house, straight down, hits the concrete, like straight up, and I go down flying with the ladder, right? Because I'm still on the ladder too. So I'm just I just go whoop, and I fall down on the ladder too, and I'm thinking like, man, this is not good, right? My dad,
it's not good.
My dad, I may have like my dad has to go to the hospital, and it's my fault. I had one job, I didn't do it, and he's kind of like grumbling a little bit,
some serious pain.
Some serious pain. He just fell like 25 feet.
You go jump off the top of your roof
onto concrete.
See how you feel about it.
Right. And I go, Dad, are you okay? He goes, just give me a minute.
Don't
talk to me right now.
For a minute.
You had one job. And all of a sudden, my mom hears the commotion, and she comes around from the side of the house. My dad hears my mom, and he pops up like a jack-in-the-box. He pops up and just starts walking off. I'm fine. And because he didn't want my mom to
freak out,
be worried about it. And I just was standing there like, I cannot believe that just happened.
Yeah, Mom, we're fine.
We're fine. Yeah. My dad just fell like 25 feet onto concrete, and it took him just a couple minutes. Yeah. And he just walked it off. And he had massive bruises, dude, all up and down his body. It was ugly. Anyway, if you ask your son to hold the ladder,
you need to instruct him.
It is a very good idea to make sure he understands how, like, what he is supposed to be doing.
I'm gonna have to look up what the rules are of holding ladders myself, because
it's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
So Tim Minahan would advise that.
Yeah, I can see why at this point.
Our guardian angels, man.
Yeah, dude.
Wow, that was could have killed him.
Yeah, if he had a better staple gun, he probably would have been done faster and never would have fallen. I don't know what kind of staple gun he was using. I doubt it was the T50.
I bet it was probably like a T20 or something.
Probably like a Stanley. Yeah.
Stanley.
Oh, Stanley.
Yeah.
I think Stanley owns like
Black & Decker.
Well, they own Black & Decker. I think they own DeWalt. I think they own Bostitch. I think they own like almost every tool company. Mm-hmm. They have bought them all. So anyway, this is the Arrow, as I said, Arrow T50. It's if you go and Google best staple guns, this is at the top of a lot of them. There's also some other cool features out there. Some staple guns have a thread at the top, like right where the hinge is for the handle that you squeeze, that adjusts the depth
The
Yeah, and that's kind of a cool feature. The only thing this one doesn't have, I wish it had, was a hook. I wish it had like a hook, like a loop here at the back. Yeah, I mean it's not that big of a deal, but when you're walking around with it, or if you have a tool belt, you know, it'd be easier to hang on there. There are some staple guns like this that'll also shoot brads, which, you know, I've never needed that, but that could be nice. Because that way you wouldn't have to get a brad nailer if you just need something for like a small project.
Sure. What were you using it for?
Oh, so just the other week, like last week, I was I'm gonna say rebuilding some of the bar stools. We have these the padding had kind of fallen through, and so I took it all apart and put new webbing to support the padding.
Oh, nice.
And so then I just, you know, it's just like 100 staples holding everything together after that point. Even the webbing itself is held together by staples. So
okay.
Now they're actually way better than when they were brand new, because I put a way better job than it came from the manufacturer. Yeah.
So when we get back, we're going to talk about loss.
Yeah.
And how to deal with it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some serious like parts of fatherhood.
We'll be right back.
I had fun with the titles in this episode.
Oh, I wasn't even paying attention to your titles. Okay.
What'd you do? What'd you do?
Actually, I probably won't. I don't ever watch it.
I don't either. I don't have time for that.
You guys thought we couldn't talk about a nail gun for 12 minutes.
I don't think they did. Honestly, I think they said, yeah, they could totally talk about a nail gun for 12 minutes. They've heard us talk about far less for much longer.
It's like in the Liturgy Guys when they did 3 episodes on candles.
You're right, yeah.
That is impressive. I respect that. 3 episodes on candles. Like,
that is a lot.
That makes me want to listen to those episodes.
Because apparently there's stuff I don't know enough about candles.
Makes me want to break my podcast fast. Go listen to about candles. I'll bet there's cool stuff about candles, honestly. Liturgical
candle, beeswax.
Yeah.
The percentage that has to be.
I bet they get into like history of some stuff.
Easter candles.
Yeah.
Different votive candles.
Today,
nope.
I am here to give you the assurance
rusty.
that I have not forgotten you.
If we want to see the new evangelization become more than just jargon, if we want to see it grow legs and gain traction and change the world, we have got to take seriously our responsibilities as husbands and fathers.
He just panicked. He was all over the place.
Don't forget to well, you don't need to reset it, I guess.
Yeah. He was all over the place on that computer trying to figure out how to.
I know. I was watching him go to the screen. It's like that's not where you go.
That's not even close to where you want to go.
That's not the right place. And then it the fact that you're over here going, oh, he's panicking. Like, no, I'm not panicking.
I'm not panicking.
Oh no, maybe I am panicking.
I realized I held my breath the whole time.
Oh man. Okay, I'm sorry. All right, go ahead, bud. Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. We completed 5 years of this show, which is very impressive. In my own book, I didn't think it would last this long. I wasn't sure actually. It's been a lot of fun. We've talked a lot about a lot of different things. We've obviously had a lot of fun on the show.
You know, when we started the show, I had no expectations. I didn't expect that anyone would listen. I didn't expect that anyone wouldn't listen. It was like, oh, we're going to do a show, and who knows?
We'll see how it goes.
Right.
Throughout the 5 years, though, we've talked about a lot of different things. We've obviously had fun. We've had lighthearted discussions. We've had joking. You know, we've had a lot of jokes on the show, like talking about jovial things. We haven't had a whole lot of shows where we talk about very intimate.
Well, no, I think we have. I mean, we've
maybe not. I mean,
we've
like,
talked a lot about like our own struggles with vices,
that's true.
and struggles in prayer.
Kind of forget about some of them, I guess.
Yeah, but today
it's one of those like you forget some of the things that you want to forget.
So today we're going to be talking about grief and loss, especially one kind of thing. So we're going to be talking about miscarriages today and just what that's like as a father.
Mm-hmm.
So just I want to give maybe a parental notice. I don't expect anything we talk about today. Nothing was going to be inappropriate, right? But we're going to be talking about, adult conversations today. So maybe, if you're listening with your son, and I know we have a lot of people who do that,
which I applaud you for.
I do too. Yeah, I just think that's really great. Maybe listen to the episode yourself before you decide if it's appropriate for your own young son or daughter.
Sure.
So,
and this is a tough topic, right? So
it is. Yeah.
I actually brought this topic up a long time ago.
Right.
And I just didn't think I was ready to talk about it. Mm-hmm. You know, when you're talking about miscarriages, and you typically talk about them because you're aware of you've had a personal experience with them, right? And so Haley had a miscarriage.
Haley and you, I think that's the right way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah. We had a miscarriage a while back, and it was, it's a very private thing. It's a very intimate thing. It's a very personal thing. It's hard. It's emotional. Yeah. And I wasn't really honestly sure if I could make it through the episode emotionally, or do it justice.
Right. And also at the time, it wasn't an experience that I had been through, and so it was not something I wanted to talk about either, just because what am I going to say?
Right.
So Pamela and I just recently went through a miscarriage ourselves. And so I felt like, let's talk about it now. Maybe now's the right time.
Right.
And I think it is the right time. So for us, it was, I think, like many people real early on, and what I've learned, and I knew this before, but, our recent experience really confirmed this, is that it's, I think, most of the time significantly different for the husband than it is for the wife. Mm-hmm. Men bond with their children differently on a different timeline than women do, right? Mm-hmm. And also, this is something that is incredibly common. I don't actually know the statistics, but I would guess that is something that almost every married couple experiences. Almost every single one. Our midwife told us that 1 out of every 4 pregnancies ends in miscarriage. Okay, and the real statistics are astronomically higher because those are just the pregnancies you're aware of. Mm-hmm. One of the ladies who was just at the conference yesterday,
the presenter?
I was told she made a comment about this.
Dr. Stacy Trasankos?
Yeah, that she said that there were probably more people, more pregnancies have ended in miscarriage than in live births. That the total number of people is larger than, just because it's so, she was saying that it's so common, and most of the time you just are totally unaware of it.
Well, especially if you haven't had, if you haven't gone through one before, it's almost like as soon as you go through one, people kind of realize and they come to your aid. They console you, and they kind of come out of the woodworks as far as like, oh, we've experienced this too, mm-hmm. And you don't like go around.
Yeah, and sometimes they say we've had like 4,
right?
Which is, it's one of experience. I think this is an experience that has a lot of commonality and also is just different for everybody. Mm-hmm. Some people take it, and kind of in stride. Mm-hmm. They, pick up and carry on. Not that it's not sad, but it just doesn't weigh them down. And then some people are really kind of devastated for a long time emotionally. Mm-hmm. And that's, a lot of that's going to depend on your temperament. So I just want to talk about my experience. I thought
sure,
you could talk about your experience. Just I don't want to be like clinical and say, hey, there's a right and a wrong here. I just want to share our experiences.
Okay. Yeah, because I haven't heard it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it's like one of those things like if a friend, you find out, they have a miscarriage, you like ask him the details,
Right.
Like, it's not appropriate.
Right.
They certainly you want to be there if they want to share them.
Right.
That really is complicated. Because probably by the time you find out, it's not day one, where the couple has found out. They probably have known for a week or more, and so it's difficult to discern where is this person in their own grieving. As a friend, what's your response? And that really does, you have to be artful.
I think the main thing is just to make yourself available.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether they actually need it or not, but just let them know that you are available.
Yeah. So for us, we found out that we were pregnant. We were, very excited, and actually, it happened while we were on vacation. I mean, there was a lot of.
When you found out.
Well, Pamela started having some, spotting and, the signs of. That maybe we were having a miscarriage. Now, that had also kind of happened with our first child, and everything was totally fine. So we weren't really sure, but that's typically a sign of maybe you're possibly having a miscarriage. So that's something we were aware of, but we were traveling. We couldn't. You can't just go see a doctor when you're in a totally different state.
Right.
So that was kind of hard because. A lot of the grief, a lot of the trouble with miscarriages are unknown questions that don't have answers. Things like, if we had been home and been able to get to the doctor, would it have made a difference? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. That wasn't the reality. That wasn't our situation. We did talk to our care provider, and there was just. You don't know, and probably it wouldn't have made a difference. I mean, I don't know, but so then when we got back, Pamela went and had a blood test, and we found out, yep, she is not pregnant. And so then that was really the moment for us because, we had this history of a little bit of spotting at this point in pregnancy has, there's a precedent there where everything was just fine, and so that was really the moment. And so for us, we decided, I think it's a good idea to name your child because this is your child, whether they're born, whether they're still alive, it's still your child. And so I think it's a good, healthy thing. I think it's just the right thing to do to give that child a name. For us, it was so early on, we didn't know if it was a boy or girl. One of the names that we had really, we liked was Francis because Pamela has a brother who died when he was 13. His middle name was Francis. And so I said, Francis could be a boy or a girl. That's kind of, there are girls and boys, saints, who have taken the name Francis. And so it's like, let's just Francis. And so that's what we decided. That felt good. Right away, I had some peace. Now I don't have to just say the baby. I can call the baby a name,
Dignity.
It's like, now it's like personhood. Because it's not just, a pregnancy.
Right.
It's a person, right?
Right.
And then just the very next day, this was a sign to me. It might not seem like it was that big of a deal, but I had just a grace where it was a very clear, this was a consolation that the Lord wanted to give me. The very next day, the saint of the day was Saint Jane Frances de Chantal. She was a religious who was a friend of Saint Francis de Sales. So the very next day was a female Francis who was friends with a male Francis. Here's a perfect example of a boy and girl Francis the very next day. Stuff like that happens all the time when, in the readings or in the saints of the day. I mean, it's that's not a coincidence. That's just one of the way the Lord, at least he speaks to me that way a lot, So that was just it was a consolation. And for me, like within a couple days, I had gotten to the point where I was actually really proud of my child, of Francis. You know, not like, oh, they did something great, but I'm just proud of little Francis. You know, I'm his or her father, and I'm really proud of him. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And there was a moment where Pamela and I were laying in bed, and it's like, you know, we might be sad, but Francis isn't. Mm-mm. Francis is not sad. So anyway, when we get back, that's my story. I'd like to hear yours, whatever you want to share.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. We'll be right back.
Leave some time at the end. Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles, here with Adam Minahan, Juan Posada. We're without Jim Spencer tonight. A little nervous. Anyone could just break in.
He's on vacay. He didn't even put in his vacation request
notice or anything
for us.
He just kind of like told us I'm leaving, and it was like,
wow.
All right, well,
I don't know.
Have a good time in Florida.
I guess we can't do anything about that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking about miscarriage today, loss. Mm-hmm. I think I don't know, like, to me, this is different from the loss of like I mentioned my wife, her brother died when he was 13. Both of those involve the loss of a child, but obviously that's a different situation. Just from a personal level, obviously both you're losing a child, but it's just different when you lose a 13-year-old. Mm-hmm. You know, when you have a miscarriage, those are just different things. And I think it's okay to say that. We're just talking about different things. But what was, whatever you would like to share.
Yeah. So Haley and I, we experienced a miscarriage, and it was difficult because I've said this on the show before that our family patron saint is Saint Gerard. The reason why our family patron saint is Saint Gerard is because when Haley and I got married, we went to a doctor and they said you will not probably be able to have children. Right?
I hate it when doctors say that.
And they said when you've tried, it's not working, come back and we'll try to help you. Mm-hmm. And they were insinuating things that were contrary to the faith, and so we weren't going to do any of that. IVF, and so we were like, no. That day, I decided our family patron saint is going to be Saint Gerard, and we had
take that, doctor.
We had the full expectation, really. At least I did mentally.
That the doctor was going to be right.
That the doctor's going to be right, and that maybe we were called to just have a bunch of adopt a bunch of kids, and
sure.
I was already mentally there, right? I was
sure.
like, okay. But I decided to make our family patron saint Saint Gerard, and
patron saint of pregnant mothers.
Yeah, expectant mothers. Yeah. And then 6 months after we got married, we were pregnant, mm-hmm. right? And then we got,
which is the average. On average, it takes a couple 6 months. Who's trying?
Yeah.
So a couple who's trying, it takes generally about 6 months.
And then we had another child afterwards. We had Luke, and then we had Jude.
Pretty easily, right?
Pretty easily, yeah. And we were, obviously, God is the author of life, right? So we weren't, it's not like God owes us children.
Right.
He doesn't owe us anything. He's giving us a gift of children, especially against all odds, quote unquote.
Right.
And so we were extremely grateful for both Luke and Jude, and we just didn't know when we were anytime we got pregnant, we were just so excited because we were, quote unquote, defeating all odds, going against all odds, and this was happening. And so when we got pregnant for the third time, and we what happens for those who don't know? So what happens whenever a girl is pregnant? Like her numbers continue doubling and tripling, and like the numbers.
Right, certain hormone levels.
Like and that's how they track it, right? Like things are going well. Like oh, you just doubled your numbers doubled.
Yeah, like every
couple
I don't
days.
know if it's like every month or what. There's like it should.
Yeah, the numbers keep doubling and tripling, right? And so all of a sudden ours didn't, and I think we were 8 or 9 weeks in, and so like we were actually pretty confident, like, hey, things are going pretty well. We were moving forward, and our numbers looked good. And then all of a sudden, they didn't look good. And then we went into and realized that we were having a miscarriage. And I remember, man, as a dad, it is just, and as a husband, it is the most helpless feeling, right? Because you actually, and you kind of mentioned this in the last part, you haven't had like this intimacy that the mom had, that your wife has, right? Because there's a baby growing inside of her. And she has this intimacy with this baby.
Right. She's like one with it.
Right.
From like the moment she finds out she's pregnant, women begin to bond emotionally, and like there's literally a physical union. You know, I mean, it's like
it's a reality.
It's a real deal. Yeah.
Right. And so I'm completely helpless in this situation, and man, it was very hard. It's one of the only times Haley and I have actually like embraced each other and cried. Right. You know, like, because I just didn't know what to do. And when you love somebody so much and you see them in pain and suffering, you don't know what else to do but try to take on this pain and suffering with them.
Right.
And so you just try to hold them and tell them you love them, and, you know, obviously.
And just be strong.
And just try, try to be there for them.
Yeah.
We too named our baby, actually immediately when that happened. Mother Angelica had just passed away, and so I said, "Okay, Mother Angelica, this is you're looking for a miracle. Here's your time to shine." And so we named her Angelica Marie, thinking like, if the Lord sees it fit that, because the numbers had showed.
So did you have like an intuition that it was a girl? Like I'm always curious.
We did.
Yeah.
We had already had 2, and I think we had 2 boys, so I just thought like this one could be the girl, and I just had that intuition. And also Mother Angelica just passed away. She's been very influenced, on both of our lives, right? And so I thought like, hey, she's a super holy woman. If you're looking for a fast track to get canonized, Mother Angelica,
there you go.
I'm giving it to you.
I'll tell you what. Even as a man, like if that was me, if I was miscarried or whatever you want to say, as a man in heaven, if I was named Marie, I'd be totally pumped about it.
Yeah.
Like, me too. What I mean?
Right.
Mary, woo!
Right. And so it's hard because it's not like at least my mind sometimes went to, oh, well, we'll try to have another baby. But, the wife is saying like, I don't necessarily want another baby. I want this baby.
Well, right. I was going to bring that up because we recently had a conversation with a friend of ours talking about some of their miscarriages that they've had here, like in their life, which they've had several. And he was saying that to his wife, that very thing is, we can have another baby. And she's crying, saying, I don't want another baby. I want this baby.
Right.
And he was kind of explaining like the difference of his experience with miscarriage versus his wife's experience with miscarriage.
Mm-hmm. So it's really hard. It was a moment that was very not trying. I wouldn't say trying because it wasn't like we were in a denial, or like
right.
angry at God or anything like that. But it was an emotional time. And one of the things that happens is, obviously you try to be there for your wife. You want to do whatever you can to help your wife. You're not really sure what that is, and then they're obviously going through a lot of things biologically. Just like they're all over. They're kind of,
there's a cascade of hormones that they go through as well.
Right, and so you just want to try to be there for them, and so it's just tough. It's one of those moments where you're able to remember what, or kind of realize what Mary was going through at the foot of the cross.
Yeah. So I'll just tell you, like, in the wake of learning that, we were having a miscarriage, I was there in prayer, and I just want to share some of the feelings that I had that were silly. But, thoughts were occurring to me in prayer like, oh, this is happening because of my sins as a father. If it hadn't been for my failings, like this is a punishment because of the sins of my own fatherhood. That's a silly thought. Okay. Also, it was, like, when we found out we were pregnant, it's like, I prayed. It's like a prayer. Like, Lord, I would really like my son to have a brother. We've got 3 girls. If you give me a girl, I adore my little girls,
and
right?
Because they're precious.
They are. I mean, like,
beautiful girls.
All little girls are cute, but like, you should see mine.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Really, really pretty. Yeah.
But I was like, give me I would really like to have a brother for my son. And there's another thing that occurred to me is like, because I selfishly prayed to have another boy, this child was a girl, and so like that's why, it's like, there were foolish thoughts that occurred. That's I think a normal thing when you're going through grief like this. Irrational things will occur to a person, and I just want to share those that I had, because those kinds of thoughts are to be firmly rejected. And by God's grace, I did immediately reject those thoughts. I knew that's not it. That's not why this is happening. This is just part of the fall. This is a thing that is common to most couples, and it's tragic. It's happening to us. It's, that it's just what it is. We have a son. We have a son or daughter in heaven now. Praise be God. One is there. So if that's like, people are good and bad at different things. Some people are good at baseball. Some people aren't. Some people are good at handling grief. Some people aren't. If you are someone who struggles with grief and this is happening, you need to just like reach out. You got like, hopefully you have friends, a
parish.
This is like where community
really kicks in.
This is why you have community. It's for these moments. So it's not something to be ashamed of at all. It's almost a universal experience.
Yeah, and I would encourage you to pray for the baby. Obviously the church has not made an official stance on one way or another with miscarriages.
Well, yeah, the church does have I think a fairly official stance, don't they? I mean, they say that the child is trusted. We trust that child to the mercy of God.
Correct. And you can go into the whole baptism by desire if I had the opportunity.
That is the question I was going to ask you.
Oh, okay.
So I have a what did I call it? Speculative theological question for Adam.
Okay.
Which we're going to get to.
Before we get to that question, though, on the other side, I know we're ending the podcast, but I'd like to give a couple things that I think would be a good idea for those who have already experienced a miscarriage as a community, what you can do for them.
Perfect.
Okay. We're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass.
And cheers to Jesus.
So I think that there's a couple things, because as a community, so
I did want to get to that. I'm glad you brought that up because, just recently we had people kind of like offering a variety of condolences. And it was like, some of them was like, look, you really don't need to do that.
Right,
it was very generous and kind, but that's why I was like, now it kind of, there's like kind of no win here for this other person because they don't know what we're going through, but it's like, now it's like, well, do we have to accept like this thing? And now it's like kind of a burden for us to accept the generosity.
Sometimes you just need to
and so like sometimes you do, and like sometimes it's also like okay to say like, thank you so much, we really don't need that, and it's very kind of you, but
so here's a couple things.
I'm glad you brought this up because I think
this is an important part.
How do you respond? How do you respond as a community?
Right, and a lot of times we try to like figure out the exact wording, or we're like wordsmithing this poem or something like prayer of something to try to make them feel better. You're not going to, right? You're not going to make them feel better with what you say. It's not about what you're saying. It's going to be about just. Like I said, to be available, to make yourself available. And so there's a couple of things that I think that you can do. One being, if you're in part of community, to start a meal train. That's a nice gesture.
Sure.
Some, like you were saying, maybe it's not a good I would do it with their permission. Because maybe they don't want one,
right?
Or maybe they're not open to letting everybody know about it yet. I don't know. I mean, it's a sensitive thing, a personal thing, so you need to make sure you have their permission. Meal train is a great thing so that way they don't have to worry about dinners.
Yeah.
But another one that I really appreciated, that was probably the biggest one, is a family paid to have a mass novena.
A novena of masses.
A novena of masses.
Yeah, that's
for us.
I think really that is the more appropriate thing to do. The meals is generous and like that is nice.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't need to go on forever.
Right.
It's not like when you have a baby and mom is constantly having to tend to nurse the baby. Where like, oh, you're kind of down one parent, where getting to make dinner all of a sudden is hard for a month. It's not a logistical problem in that way within the family. It's just an emotional, and so the meals are less important. In the wake of this, still they are helpful. That is, it's nice just to be able to relax. Not have to stress
to worry about it.
What are you going to have for dinner,
Right.
Yeah. But I personally, and this is just my own experience, I think that the spiritual bouquet or whatever you want to call it, that I think is very touching and maybe even more helpful. I think I'd rather have grace than food. I would always choose grace over food.
What if it was bacon? I'm just joking. Go ahead.
That's where the Catholic both and comes in, really, for the win.
Sure.
But
no, I think that's good. Another thing that I think that
I was going to say, I'll think of what I was going to say.
Another thing that I think that is very, and this kind of goes along with the same thing, but maybe you can't afford to have a whole 9 days of a mass said for them, and so just sending a card letting them know that.
Well, you could pray a novena for them.
Right. Well, that's what I was about to say. Letting them know that your family, in family prayer, has prayed for them by name, for the next 9 days, is super touching. So we have these.
Our Lady of Sorrows.
Our Lady of Sorrows. We have somebody, and I think they do it for you as well. Who?
They send this mystery card with Jesus. It's like a picture, a drawing of Jesus. Like, hey, we'll be praying for you on this day.
Right.
I want to find out who this person is.
This is evangelization 101, right?
Sending me cards for a long time.
If you,
I was convinced it was Juan, and then I found out it wasn't.
Right.
Because then I saw the same card on his fridge, and it was like he wouldn't send it to himself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Maybe he is just to really get us off the case.
If that's what you did, props.
Yeah.
Deception 101.
Right.
Yeah. But I think that the idea of knowing that you have other people praying for you while you're going through this, even if you're the dad and not knowing how to handle it, but knowing that you can take consolation in that people are praying for your wife, is a huge deal to me.
Yeah.
And so I think that's another. So those are the three things that I think that happened to us that we appreciated. A couple people sent us meals. The novena of masses.
That is really
being
nice.
said
nice.
for you, and the presentation of the card and everything else with the novena of masses is just touching, because it means that you went out of your way to make this happen. It's just and then we did receive a couple cards as well saying hey, by the way, our family is praying for you by name. Together as a family for the next 9 days.
Okay, and so that is something. This is, I think, where it becomes universally applicable, because that's something that you can do no matter your relationship with this person. Okay, it really is a situation where your the level of your friendship is going to dictate the appropriate response. Okay, if this happens to your best friend, okay, maybe you could even get them flowers. But if it's someone that you don't really know very well, and you get them and you bring flowers over to their house, that's really nice, but it's gonna be I don't know, I just think it's a little weird. It's not ordered, because that response isn't equivalent to the level of your friendship. You know what I mean? Like, I think it can come across as a little bit fake because it's like, wow, we're not really that good of friends. I mean, thank you for the flowers, but you know, I don't know. It just doesn't. It doesn't feel right. But sending a card saying, "Hey, we'll be praying for you," by by name. We're gonna say my family's saying a novena for your family. I mean, that's just what Catholics do.
And
you know what I mean?
If I may add, even if you have a Protestant friend, you can have a mass said for their unborn child. You know, I did this recently with a friend from work that had a ectopic pregnancy, and she wasn't, but she was extremely thankful. And think about, that might be the only mass that maybe ever offered for that person.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So even if they're Protestants, you still think about offering a mass. And that's what I ask. I ask, do you have a name in mind? If not, I'll just baby nail or baby whatever last name they are, and then offer the mass.
Yeah. I remembered the thing that I was going to say. I've remembered it like 3 times now.
And now you forgot again.
And now I forgot again.
This is the Holy Spirit just telling you, like, move on.
It's like, Dave. Or is it my own sinfulness that makes me keep forgetting? And the Holy Spirit is the one who keeps reminding me, like, remember, it was this. You were going to say it. Remember. So maybe I will remember again. Maybe I'll remember a 4th time.
Probably not. Three's the number.
I know. I think you might be right. But I wanted to ask you what your opinion was, because this is something that had occurred to me. I had never thought about this before. I haven't looked up but the way you said it earlier makes me think maybe this is like a thing that people talk about, the whole idea of baptism of desire, because just, like my current understanding, which I haven't looked this up to see if my current understanding is right or wrong. Okay. So like this is a disclaimer, but that, the idea of limbo, like limbo is a teaching of the church. It was more popularly proclaimed in the past than it is today. And that limbo is this idea of it's a place of natural happiness. So it's not heaven. It's not the beatific vision, because these children who die without baptism, they're not baptized, and so that they would go to this other place that the Lord has prepared for them, where they don't participate in the beatific vision, but it's a place of natural happiness where like they are. It's like a very good place. That's what the teaching, as I understand it, of limbo is, and that the church has taught. And then she kind of, not that she said limbo didn't exist, but that she just kind of like stopped saying anything about it, right? So it's still an idea that the church has put out in the past, at least certain members of the church, But what about the concept of baptism of desire? This is what I want your opinion on. If I am intending to baptize myself, and I die, well, if I wouldn't baptize myself, but if I'm intending to get baptized,
yes,
like I'm in RCIA, I'm all in, I'm gonna do it. But you die, you can receive the baptism of desire, even though you weren't baptized. It was your intention to get baptized, and so the Lord receives you as if you are. That is an official teaching of the church. What about, like as parents, we're the ones who decide baptizing our children. So in this situation, what's your opinion? This is just the opinion of Adam Timothy Minahan. Timothy Adam Minahan, forgive me. We should just switch it. Like, you should just go down to the courthouse and legal and just let's just flip it. Yeah. But what's your opinion?
Yeah, so I've thought about this some, not to the extent of probably wanting to talk about it on the show. So obviously, God desires all men to be saved.
Yeah.
We're not Calvinists or anything where we, think that God creates men to be damned for all of eternity.
Right.
He wills all to be saved.
It's only we who can damn ourselves.
Yes, and it's only through no fault of their own. So there are people like, what about the Aborigines, people who have never heard of Jesus before in their whole life?
That's a different situation, though.
Totally different situation, but it's not like that.
But they could still be saved.
They could still be saved, and it would only be through
the church,
through our Lord Jesus
By
Christ.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
And so, however, the difference, I think, also,
my question is, does the baptism desire? I mean, because it's like when we found out that night, I even prayed, Lord, it is my sincere intention and desire to have my child baptized.
Have the baby baptized, yeah.
I can't do that. Either way, I'm just, the Lord is so merciful, and like,
right.
This could be one of those things. I just know it. When we go to heaven, we're just gonna be blown away by God's mercy, absolutely blown away.
Absolutely, I mean, we will.
His mercy on myself, I hope, will blow me away. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
But
by God's grace, I make it there, and that will be a testament of His mercy.
This
without
could.
a doubt.
I could also like envision this. I don't know that it will be. It's just like, it wouldn't be inconsistent with the love of God for at the end times, the general judgment when all people will be judged after your particular judgment, right? So there's your particular judgment, and then the general, that the Lord simply wills by His mercy to bring if limbo is like exactly how it's thought to be, He brings them in. He gives them all whatever grace. He's God. He can do what He wants. You know what I mean? Like, I could see that happening. I don't know that it will. I don't know that it won't. But God is He is way better than our opinion of Him.
I don't think that would be the case, but that's just a thought.
How come?
Because it's like so when we're in heaven, Saint Teresa has the analogy or description of like, you have either a thimble full of grace, or you have a trash can full of grace, or like whatever amount, but it's all full, right? So that's why there's different levels of
different
heaven,
rewards in heaven,
different rewards in heaven, right? So like, you're full of you're full of grace. The amount of
which we will be in heaven,
whatever amount that you've acquired throughout your life, because grace builds on nature. So however you've lived your life, however virtuously you've lived your life and atoned for the sins you've committed and all these other things, will give you the opportunity to have more and more grace.
Not that you're earning salvation,
salvation,
but holy actions merit a holy reward.
And the cooperation of God's grace is required.
Right.
And so each person, right, has a different amount of grace that they have, they
accumulated.
Treasure
in heaven.
Treasure in heaven. They have not had that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see God raising them to a level. Just like I don't see God raising, like if I have a drop to raising me to a 20 drop level. This is, hopefully you can understand this.
Yeah. Just refer to units. We'll call them heaven units. Heaven units.
Sure. So I don't see Him doing that out of His mercy, or grace, because there's also justice involved as well. Even though it's through no fault of their own, I don't see. To me, it doesn't. Something doesn't sit well with me on the justice side of that.
Let me tell you a story. There was a man who owned a vineyard, and he went out one morning to hire workers for his vineyard, and he found some, and he agreed to pay them the daily wage. At noon, he went out again.
Mm-hmm.
He found more.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, at 5 o'clock,
mm-hmm.
he went out and found more workers standing there, and he said, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, no one hired us." He's like, "Go work in my vineyard." At the end of the day, he paid them all the same.
Mm-hmm. Some didn't accept that wage.
Some were a little pissed about it,
and some of them maybe didn't accept the wage.
Maybe not. I mean, I guess that's possible that they didn't.
I mean, that's how people go to hell.
They grumbled about it, right? But also, your analogy, I think, is a fair one, that, there's justice to be observed, but it doesn't mean that they would receive the same heaven units. as somebody else.
I love that we're calling it heaven.
We're calling them heaven units, you know?
Yeah. This is very speculative. This is not
we're like deep. We're deep in speculation right now. But, you know, God could easily arrange that so that, the idea that the souls in limbo that is something that is like just occurred to me right now. I'm not even promoting that. I'm just saying, like, you know, what if that? That doesn't seem to like contradict anything about the awesomeness of God. I'm not saying that I believe that.
Sure.
It was just throwing it out there as like, hey, hypothetical. My own opinion is that the baptism of desire is possible. I
agree. I think it's very possible.
That could be possible for the children of parents who are devoted to the Lord. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I have no idea, but I would say that yes, it's possible. I wouldn't say that yes, it does happen, but I wouldn't say it definitely doesn't.
I agree with you.
I mean, obviously, there's no way for us to know, but
all right.
It just, you know, like
I take comfort
really nice
in thinking that Angelica Marie prays for our family.
Yeah, I know.
To help us through this world.
Yeah. So at the end of the night, we ask several people to pray for us. We found out that my in-laws, they had a miscarriage. So we ask Pamela's brother Alan, who died when he was 13. We ask him to pray for us every night. Her sibling that they named Jamie.
Whose sibling?
Pamela's sibling. You know, it was the miscarriage that her parents had.
Sorry, I was.
Yeah.
I wasn't tracking.
That was not exactly clear, but we ask Jamie to pray for us,
mm-hmm.
And now we ask Francis to pray for us.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my brother Gabriel. So also my parents.
I was gonna ask that, but I didn't think.
I was like, there was Anyway, so I also have a brother who was stillborn. He was my parents. My mom carried him to term, and so we ask Gabriel to pray for us as well every night. So it's, you know what, it really is comforting. I remember what I was going to say. This is it.
Holy Spirit, come if you take it away from him. If
you know, as we were going through this, I remember maybe this is one of the first times I've ever said, I don't know how I would handle this without faith.
Mm-hmm.
Without my love of Christ, without the faith that I have,
mm-hmm.
the meager faith that I do possess, I don't know what I would do with right now. I mean, the difference in my attitude, the way I was able to handle the whole situation
mm-hmm.
was 100% different because I'm a man of faith. You know, at the end of the day, I don't believe that this is all for naught.
Right.
That I believe that yes, it's sad, but my child is in good hands, right? You know,
mm-hmm.
that there's actually not a reason to be sad, right? That I'm actually happy for little Francis.
Mm-hmm.
And so just what it was.
And that's why
it turned this tragedy into something very beautiful. And that was the moment that I realized I'm proud of my child.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's why you also see how this world is falling into despair and depression and suicide and all these other things. If you don't realize that it's not this world that we're living for, but the next.
Right. This is not our home.
When tragedy strikes,
mm-hmm.
which it will in some way, shape, or form in this in this world, in this life, if you don't have Christ as your foundation, it will rock you to the point of making irrational or decisions or making having this sense of hopelessness about yourself.
Right.
So
right, exactly, and it's just it was just one of those moments where I realized it's a tragedy that made me appreciate the beauty of the faith, the beauty of life. All of a sudden, in that moment, I had a more beautiful outlook on life because of a tragedy that I had just gone through. And praise be God for that.
Well, this is the whole Job thing, right? Like, God doesn't owe you anything, No,
he doesn't, but he gives you everything.
But he gives you everything.
Yeah.
And when things are taken away, blessed be the Lord. Because I didn't have, they weren't mine to begin with.
Right. That's what I try to remember, that my children, they're not really my children. They're the Lord's children. And I am really like their steward. It's my job to, they're my kids. I know that. But but they're the Lord's children first.
Right.
I just cooperated while he created life. Okay? So I am their father, symbolically, in the relative to the way God is their father. He fathered them, and I cooperated while he did that. And so it's these are the Lord's children. I'm gonna hopefully give them back to him someday. That's my job, is to bring them, back to him.
And that's why it's a beautiful thing to think about. The more children you can have, the more they can. We can all rejoice in heaven together.
Right. I know. We told our kids, cause.
Oh, that's something I was going to ask you about.
We did tell the kids. So, because we told them, the thing is, we've had 4 kids. The pregnancies have all gone
very well.
So well. So at this point, we were having more and more confidence about what, let's not wait. Let's just tell people, sooner and sooner. Sooner than we have in the past. So the kids knew about it. And so I told them one morning, well, kids, we've got some sad news. The baby in mom's tummy died. So mom's not pregnant anymore. So we don't know if it was a boy or girl, but you have a brother or sister in heaven. And they took it, children, they take things so matter of fact. It's oh, okay, that's just the way it is. But they took it very well, and I was just so proud of them. Especially my daughter Elizabeth. She has a very she is well, I wouldn't go that far, but she's very spiritually aware. She's got plenty to work on. She's only 6, but she just was sad, but at the same time immediately said, well, now we have a brother or sister who can pray for us. And so it was a good moment. It was a really beautiful family moment that we had together.
That reminds me of when Kaylin was really young, 2-3 years old. It had to be at least 3 because my mom had all 3 of us, and it was bam, 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 right? We were all very close in age, and Kaylin runs out into the middle of the parking lot. Car is coming. She runs out, and the car stops right before hitting Kaylin. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
And my mom obviously freaks out, grabs Kaylin and says, "Kaylin, you cannot do that. You cannot run away from mommy in the parking lot. That car could have hit you and you could have died." And Kaylin's response was "Why are you worried, Mom? Then I would just get to go to heaven." And my mom was like,
I will.
She's like, "I will send you to heaven."
Right, when we get home, remind me to kill you.
Yeah, she was so upset. But that's just such an innocent,
right? It's sort
response.
of like Saint Therese telling her mom, "I hope you die."
Right? Yeah.
Hope you die. Why would you say that to me? Well, then you get to go to heaven. Okay, yeah, that's fact. I mean, yes, I understand your hope for me to go to heaven is beautiful, but don't say that to as a general rule, that's not something you should say to somebody.
Right.
But I did want to say something about that because I remember it was only about
protect their kids from all these other things that I absolutely protect my kids from, but then when it comes to the concept of death,
they pull back really quick.
Yeah, they totally shelter their kids and oh, don't tell the kids that they died. well, that they, and in fact, they won't even say the word died or dead. They like moved on, passed away. You know, it's like they're afraid of the word. I don't do that with my kids. It's like when we see animals that are dead, it's like, well, it's dead. It's a dead animal. You know, when people die, well, that person died. I mean, that's just it's a part of life, you know, like, and so it really was a good moment, a good family moment that we had. And I must not have got enough sleep last night, because I was going to say something else about why I said when the kids, and you're like, oh, I was going to ask you about that. That's what you said. I don't remember where I was going at that time. Anyway, I think we've sufficiently discussed. Anything else that you want to say?
Angelica Murray, pray for us.
Francis Niles, pray for us. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.